Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 19 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. And joining me today is my faithful co-host, my loving and adoring wife, Sarah. Sarah, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Skip. It's great to be here always.
Oh, well, good, because I wouldn't have a co-host without you.
Sure you find somebody.
Well, Sarah, lately we have been teaching children how to drive. Phoenix.
Teenagers, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. We have a 15-year-old, and he's out on the road. And one of the things that struck me was that all the teenagers are different.
Oh, so much. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about the difference between Phoenix driving and Cedar driving.
I want to start by saying they're both doing a great job, and you guys don't have to be afraid to drive on the road just because they're there. Well, yeah. So Cedar didn't take driver's training, and we got to train him from the start, but he waited till he was 18. So we talked about it for, years.
He just didn't want to drive.
Well, we make him pay for driver's training, and we're like, and you have to pay for your insurance. Like, we don't make it very fun to become a driver. But Phoenix kind of watched the stress of trying to
You have to earn it.
train Cedar,
Yeah.
and he said that he wanted to do driver's training, like the costs kind of a lot here in
Yeah,
Michigan.
but he's been wanting to drive since he was like 13 years old.
He wants to go to Wednesday church service. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah,
So that's
I
what he
think
wants
it's
to do.
more than that. But
Yeah, he wants to go
has
visit
a
his
different
friends, but
personality.
totally different personality. Yeah. But he's taking this so seriously. I mean, he worked hard with Dad at the classes so he could
Yeah.
save his money, and then he did save his money. And then when it was time, he kind of talked me through scheduling it. I'm like, you don't really want to do this. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, all these
Yeah.
reasons, and he'd just answer all my reasons. He just wouldn't take no. And he was always super respectful and super patient with me. You're just kind of working me into a corner where I'm like, okay, you have answered all of my concerns. I got nothing else to say.
Yeah,
So he's doing it.
their personalities are so much more different. Cedar he's always been more confident,
Yeah.
more self-assured, and when he gets out driving, when he first started, I thought, okay, this guy is way more confident than he should be. Because he
Yeah,
has no skill.
but I think it's worse when we're not in the car. What he reports, the speeds he goes on the roads that are near our house
Yeah.
I'm just like hoping that he gets a ticket before he gets in an accident. That I've actually been hoping that lately.
So earlier you said, it's safe, people shouldn't worry.
Well, yeah, that's true. Maybe when Cedar's going to work, stay off the roads that way.
Okay. Well,
Yes, you're right.
we've done this before. We'll do it again, and we will put out safe, happy drivers
But
for the whole world.
I hope so, yeah. I'm not
Okay.
sure how it's going to come training Amethyst. That
All
should
right. Well, folks, pray for us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Sarah, what's coming up on the show today?
Today we are talking to Colonel Denny Gillem, the co-founder of Frontlines of Freedom Military Talk Radio, and now the founder of Americas Frontlines podcast.
But before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, ShootingClasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Apple Tree Media. All right, so what's in the news today, Sarah?
Good news. TSA ends shoe removal.
Oh, praise God.
It was time.
Yes.
The Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, has ended the requirement for travelers to remove their shoes during airport security screenings, effective immediately nationwide. This policy change, announced by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, marks the end of a rule that had been in place since 2006, initially implemented in response to the 2001 shoe bombing attempt by Richard Reed. The decision was made possible by advancements in security technology and a reassessment of threat level risks. TSA shoe removal policy. The policy required passengers to remove their shoes for scanning, a measure that often contributed to long lines and frustration at security checkpoints. Only those enrolled in the TSA PreCheck program were previously exempt from this rule. Impact on travelers. The change is expected to streamline the screening process and significantly reduce wait times, enhancing the overall travel experience. Travelers can now keep their shoes on during security screenings, although they may still be asked to remove them if additional screening is deemed necessary. Technology advancements. Modern scanning equipment now enables TSA officers to detect potential threats without requiring passengers to remove their shoes. This technological process, along with a comprehensive reassessment of threat level risks, made the policy shift possible.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am all for this, and I might actually start flying again.
Yes, if they could make it
Well, I would
less.
rather, I mean, there was a point where I would rather like drive to Texas than fly to Texas.
Probably not because of taking off your shoes. There's a whole
That was
thing
just
that was
part of the
bad infection.
package, right? I mean, it
Mhm.
was the whole package deal. It's like you get there, and what are they treating you like? A
A
criminal,
criminal.
right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
basically, when you get processed into jail, if you're like a suicide risk, they'll take away your shoelaces, you take off your shoes, they give you an orange jumpsuit, all this stuff. And that's the way I felt when I was going through all this process. But the thing is, how many, they were doing this since 2006, so almost 20 years. How many suicide bombers did they stop during that 20 years with this policy?
I never heard of one.
That's because there was not a single one. There was one lunatic named Richard Reed who tried to blow up a plane by packing explosives in his shoes. He was a member of Al Qaeda. He
Okay.
was a hardened criminal. He was from England. One guy did this, and so the federal government's answer was, hey, we're going to keep you all safe, and oh, we're going to harass you in the process. I mean, it was just terrible. People hated it. It reminds me a lot of the whole COVID debacle as well. I mean, now you can take off your mask and put your shoes back on. And it's because Donald Trump is in office. If he wasn't in office, he wouldn't have appointed, Kristi Noem,
Mhm.
and she wouldn't be making these common sense decisions.
Yeah.
I just hate it when the government overreaches
Yeah.
with all of their stuff. It's like a knee-jerk reaction to one event that happens. And that's like the fallacy of gun control, right? If there's a mass shooting, what is the government's answer? We're going to take away everyone's guns and we will control the law-abiding citizen because we can't control the criminals.
Great. That's really the
That's
problem.
not the right way to go about it. So I'm happy that there is a semblance of sanity returning to the TSA now.
Yes, this is wonderful. This is really good.
All
Thank you,
right.
Christy, and President Trump.
Yes, that's right. All right. So Sarah, let's talk about the hero of the week.
All right, here we go. The Karate Kid, boy 12, uses martial arts skills to stop a gunman robbing Turkish jewelry store. A plucky 12-year-old boy stopped an armed robber in his tracks by disarming him with his martial arts skills and sending him packing from a Turkish jewelry shop. The man walked into the store in Istanbul, Bagsilar district, carrying carrying a bag and wearing a surgical mask, baseball cap, and sunglasses. He then slammed the satchel down on the counter and grabbed a gun from inside the waistband of his jeans. The boy, who was already in the shop, reacted at lightning speed and leapt towards the man. He grabbed the gun and punched the man in the stomach, then wrestled the robber out of the shop, slamming the door behind him. His father, Mehmet Aragaz, then rushes out from behind the counter to come to the young lad's aid, and between them they manage to hold the door shut as the robber first tries to get back in, but then flees the scene. Not content with having seen him out of the shop, the pair then chases after the would-be robber. The young Have-A-Go hero has been identified only by his initials, EK, but according to Turkish media reports, he is the shop owner's son. The boy's heroic actions were caught on the shop's CCTV camera and have helped police to identify a suspect. The suspected robber, Mustafa Z, was arrested by Turkish police and charged with robbery.
Sarah, I watched the video,
Okay.
surveillance video of this, and it only lasts about 12 seconds long.
Yeah.
But what really amazed me, this 12-year-old boy, he hadn't even reached puberty yet. This
12
this
is little still.
this kid was like 4.5 feet tall. I'm serious. And the bad guy walks in with the satchel. He pulls out the gun and turns to the boy. The boy, without thinking, immediately punches this guy in the gut.
That's a feisty
Okay,
kid.
and grabbed hold of the gun.
Yeah, wow.
And while he did that, the father rushed out from behind the counter. And so now the robber is, being attacked by a man and a boy.
Father
And
and son duo, too, no less.
and he retreated out the door, then tried to come back in, but
Why?
yeah, I don't know. Well,
What's
he
he
had a
thinking?
gun.
It's father and son. You just go on your way.
Yeah, well, you know, I have some mixed feelings about this
Okay.
because we have boys that we have raised to be plucky,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
protectors and defenders. In reality, this robber could have overpowered that little boy, could have shot him in the head, could have shot the shop owner too, but he just wasn't willing to do that. Or I think a lot of these robbers, they go in expecting it to happen a certain way. Okay, the shop owner's going to be terrified. He's going to, just comply with everything that we ask, and then I'll walk out with what I want.
Mhm.
And most of the time, that's what happens. So when he meets resistance, it's like they're confused.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do because they haven't thought it this far ahead.
Well, to be a robber, I mean, it sounds like a coward's way to earn a living, right?
Yeah, yes.
So if you are coming from a coward-like perspective, then you're going to expect the rest of the world to fit that paradigm that is in your own head.
Yeah,
So when you run into somebody who isn't a coward, it's going to confuse you.
yeah. I think it confused this guy momentarily because he started to leave. Then then he must have thought, oh, hold it. I have a gun. This is a little boy.
This can't be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this kid was from Turkey. My hat's off to him.
And his dad. I mean, just
Oh, yeah,
teamwork,
both of
right?
them.
That's great.
If anybody messes with my boy,
That's right. Well, he's defending his dad too, right? I
and
mean,
they
they're
get a mouthful of
That's great.
knuckles or, about 100 grains of lead. So,
all the courage you got. Forward red.
yeah, that's right. And I just, I admire this 12-year-old.
That's great.
I hope he grows up quickly
Sounds
so
like
that
he is.
he can do a better job here.
Sounds like he is.
But so EK from Turkey,
Istanbul. Thank you.
are the Home Defense Show Hero of the Week. Good job.
Keep being brave.
All right, Sarah, what's coming up next?
Next, we're talking to Colonel Denny Gillem, the co-founder of Frontlines of Freedom Military Talk Radio, and now the founder of Americas Frontlines podcast.
In the meantime, God bless and stay safe, because we'll be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, Their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
Liberals hate him, small children fear him, but God keeps on loving him anyway. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. Folks, we live in a dangerous world, and I want you to be able to protect and defend the ones you love. And that's why I have this show. It's my way of empowering you to accomplish one of your primary jobs in life. You are a protector and a defender. All right, listeners, before we get too far into the show, don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Apple Tree Media. Without our sponsors, this show wouldn't be on the air, so we thank you all. All right, and now I'd like to welcome a longtime friend of mine back to the show. He's Colonel Denny Gillem, the co-founder of Frontlines of Freedom Military Talk Radio, and now the founder of Americas Frontlines podcast. Denny, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Skip, we can't seem to not work together. We're always working together on something. And surprisingly, it's usually quite positive, too.
Well, it is. I just, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say this while the recorder is going, but I enjoy your company.
Wow.
I really do.
I guess that happens both ways because how many decades have we been doing stuff together?
Oh,
a bunch.
Yeah, definitely. I like doing things that I just have a good time doing, right? And, what I've learned from radio shows and podcasting is that people want to hear someone else having a good time, and when you and I are talking to each other, we're having a good time, just, going back and forth and, just talking about things that we care about that are important to us, but also, maybe even saying, a few interesting things or funny things like that.
I agree. Interesting is important. Funny is more important.
Yeah. Well, and even educational from time to time. I say something. Yeah. But, Denny, America's Frontlines. Tell us about your vision for America's Frontlines, how did it come about, all the backstory.
Well, Skip, as you know, for 18 years and 1 month, I was the founding host of Frontlines of Freedom, which is a military talk radio show. I just felt it was time to move on to something give us more flexibility, and more chance to cover that. But obviously, America's Frontlines is named because America has got front lines challenges, lots of places, from our national debt to our southern border to the Trump haters. I mean, anybody who hates somebody has got something wrong with them, I think, to the people trying to kill cops in America, to Iran and Israel and Russia and Ukraine and China and North Korea. I mean, we could go on and on and on. There's serious issues out there, and we need to be ready with them and dealing with them. And we've even got a president who is doing that, not just talking about it, but doing it. He's not perfect by any means. He hasn't covered every base, but he's sure getting things done. And that getting done needs to be looked at, discussed, analyzed. So America's Frontlines are looking at the Frontlines area that America is having to deal with. And that's our goal, to keep looking at that.
Well, and when we say America's Frontlines, sadly enough, it's kind of like a war, not a shooting war, but it's a cultural war, right? I mean, it's a war for the hearts and minds of the American people, a war for the soul of our country, of our nation. And I like to think that America's Frontlines is part of the solution, an ally to freedom, I guess.
Well, as you are my primary co-host on Frontlines of Freedom, you're my primary co-host on America's Frontlines. And one of the many things we have in common is we're both committed Christians. And that gives us a perspective on seeing things. For example, I don't think it was an accident that President Trump was, when he was running for president and was shot, that he wasn't killed.
Yeah.
God played a role in that. And that perspective is part of what the way we see and will discuss and analyze the challenges we see out there.
Yeah. I agree. I know it's not popular or vogue to brag up, President Trump and, to like him, to wear a MAGA hat, all of those things. But Denny, I just finished, it was an hour and a half documentary on George Washington, how he was the father of liberty, and about revisionist history and all of that. And some people are going to hate this, but some people, they just want to hate. So we'll let them hate. I really believe that Donald Trump is a man of providence. He was raised up for a time like we're living in right now, because it's like America is at a crossroads right now. And it's like we are like this close to communism. And I just feel like God raised up Donald Trump to put the brakes on and say, okay, America, you got one more chance to get this right. And that's how I view Donald Trump right now, with the assassination attempts and everything that they did to try to take this guy out. None of it worked at all.
Well, it's hard not to agree with that, because all those things did happen. And so, yes, I can't say for certain this is our last chance, but you don't know. And I sincerely hope that all good Americans, all not good Americans, are thinking about that, because this very well could be our last chance to make some wise choices. And it's perfectly all right to disagree, to strongly disagree with people, but hating and name calling and follow up with lies and stuff to make your situation look stronger. No, we got to get away from that. We have to do that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, now, Denny, so people have an idea of what America's Frontlines podcast is all about. I want to go ahead and I want to play some excerpts from actual shows that you and I have done over the last couple of weeks, just so people can get a taste of it. So let's go ahead. Let's roll the clips right now. And then when we're done, you and I will wrap things up. So here we go.
You bet. I'm Denny Gillem, the host. I'm a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, and I just retired from being the founding host of Frontlines of Freedom, which was the nation's largest military talk radio show. I hosted it for 18 years. It was time to start something fresh, and this podcast is the result. The podcast is called America's Frontlines because our nation is facing a great many challenges now, and we, patriotic Americans, need to be knowledgeable and ready to stand up for our nation. The challenges include things like the Iran-Israel conflict, the Los Angeles riots, our southern border, China, Russia, and Ukraine, our wild national debt, and a lot more. None of this is going to go away, but we, the people, can require our elected officials to at least work on it. The purpose of America's Frontlines is to keep a focus on these key challenges so each of us can contribute to the solution. We'll have our comments plus guests on every show, and we do believe that a sense of humor is important. And we plan to put out 2 podcasts each week. Right now, we're on Apple and Spotify. So that you know who I am, here's a quick summary. I was born and raised in California. I went to West Point, graduated in 1964 as an infantryman. A year later, I'd volunteered for duty in Vietnam and commanded a rifle platoon in the 1st Infantry Division. The second half of my tour, I was a general's aide. I got home, married my honey, and reported to the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where I was given command of a rifle company. And a year later, the whole division deployed to Vietnam just in time for the heavy fighting around Hue during the Tet Offensive. I finished that tour working at division headquarters. During those 2 tours, I received 7 awards for valor. I subsequently led 2 college ROTC units, served 3 years in Germany and 4 years as a Middle East war planner. My last assignment was an Army advisor to the Michigan Army National Guard. I now live in Michigan. Once I retired, I worked in sales, education, fundraising, consulting, and leadership. And my final job was teaching American government as a local college. And, as I said a bit over 18 years ago, I co-founded the military talk radio show Frontlines of Freedom. And today, I'm the founder of Americas Frontlines. Okay, now it's time for the news. Take us there, bro.
Well, Colonel, it's not officially news anymore, but the passing and the signing of the one big, beautiful bill has and will continue to have such a positive impact on our nation in a lot of different ways, including our nation's security. I just can't get it off my mind. I have to laugh when I think that President Biden opened our borders to all kinds of illegals and enemies of our nation and hired thousands more IRS agents to go after you and me, Denny. Trump closed the borders. He will be cutting taxes and hire many more ICE and border officers to clean up the mess. It's true the bill is not perfect, and other bills are needed to keep our nation on track. But I think this is the best bill that has passed in my lifetime, and you have a longer lifetime. What do you say, Colonel?
Amen, brother. I cannot think of a bill that even came close to doing so many things that needed doing. I mean, hallelujah. It's a blessing. It's good for our nation. And yeah, it ain't perfect. So,
well, but it's good. It just has to be better than it is bad when you compare it to all the other legislation that gets passed. It's a step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yes. I mean, not perfect, but it does so many good things all at once. And that seems to be Trump. He doesn't just do one good thing and see how it works. He's got 5 or 6 or 8 or up his sleeve, and they keep moving, and they're all good for our country. I mean, amen, brother.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't seem to be afraid of anyone, and he's not afraid of taking on a huge task and just trying to get it done. He spent a lot of political capital getting this thing done and getting Republicans to band together and grow a spine. That's a big task just in itself, but it just tells me that people are willing to follow a really strong leader if they think he's going in the right direction.
Yeah, a strong leader with good values. Amen. That's what we got now.
All right.
What's next?
Well, Colonel, China has stated its position in the war in Ukraine and named the winner that aligns with Beijing's political interest, according to the South China Morning Post. During a meeting last week with European Union Representative Kaja Kallas, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi stated that Beijing cannot allow Russia to lose the war against Ukraine. This frankness surprised some European participants in the meeting, as publicly, Beijing insists it is not a party to the conflict. In reality, it appears that China fears that if Moscow loses, the U.S. will focus all its efforts against China. Yet China rejects any accusations that they are helping Moscow. According to the diplomat, if that's true, this conflict would have ended a long time ago. During the 4-hour meeting, the Chinese minister gave a few lessons in history and realpolitik to his European counterpart, emphasizing Beijing's strategic view. The war on Ukrainian territory diverts the U.S.'s attention and prevents it from fully focusing on confrontation with China. In Brussels, some diplomats interpret this to say that Although China didn't seek the war in Ukraine, its prolongation aligns with Beijing's strategic interest as long as the U.S. remains engaged in the European direction.
That's really insightful and true. And it makes a lot of sense. That I'd never thought of most of that, but wow. Why wouldn't China want Russia to keep up in that war and keep our focus on that war?
Yeah. Well, because it just, it would be really hard for us to go to war with Russia and China and North Korea and Iran. Okay, I think Iran's out of the picture for a while now. And North Korea, I think they're like a whipped puppy with their tail between their legs. But Russia and China, those are real threats. But I think China is content to see Russia bleeding itself and keeping, America focused in Europe so that we're not focused in Asia. That just makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does totally. And those insights, I wouldn't have come up with them, but boy, do I agree with them. I mean, every once in a while, you'll learn something from other people, sometimes when you're paying attention.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Skip, I got some one-liners I want your opinion on. Tell me what you think.
Are you sure you want my opinion on your jokes, Colonel? Are you sure? We've done this before.
Yeah. I'll just lean on you a little bit. So how about this one? I bought a new blindfold, but I can't see myself wearing it. Okay.
Where's the punchline, though?
You're going to get punched. How about this one? What did the beach say when the tide came in? Long time no see?
Long time no see. Okay, I'm an English major, so I should recognize that that's the power of homonyms, right, Colonel?
Hey, you know those big fancy words. I'm impressed.
Well, I'm going to wake up at 2 a.m. this morning laughing hysterically, remembering this joke, right?
I hope so. Okay, Skip, let's enjoy a bit of military history. Take us there, bro.
Well, Colonel, on 11 July, 1798, President John Adams signed the bill that reestablished the Marine Corps. The Continental Congress had disbanded the service in April of 1783 at the end of the American Revolution. The Marine Corps, however, recognizes its official birthday to be the date that the Second Continental Congress first authorized the establishment of the Corps of Marines on 10 November 1775. To add to the confusion of the Corps' actual historical birthday, on 1 July 1797, Congress authorized the revenue cutters to carry, in addition to their regular crew, up to 30 Marines. Congress directed the cutters to interdict French privateers operating off the coast during the Quasi-War with France, and thought the additional firepower of 30 Marines would be needed by the undermanned and undergunned cutters. It is unknown if any Marines were enlisted for service with the revenue cutters during this time.
Well, I know if I was a skipper of one of those revenue cutters, I would have had to be somebody there, and Marines would have been my first choice. But who knows?
Yeah, well, I almost joined the Navy, Colonel. There was just one thing holding me back, and that's I didn't know how to swim. So I thought that might be a downside.
So you joined the Marines and could have spent your whole time in the Marines at sea.
Yes, I could have. Well, I was 17 when I joined up, so it's like, I wasn't doing my best thinking yet at that time.
Even though you thought you knew everything. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. But, I thought it's ironic that the Marine Corps got its birth in a tavern, an American tavern. And I just think that's special, Colonel.
Well, it's not surprising, and it worked. So don't don't knock it. Ooh, Medal of Honor.
All right. Well, here, Colonel, on 12 July, 1862, during our Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln signed into law a measure calling for the awarding of a U.S. Army Medal of Honor in the name of Congress to such non-commissioned officers and privates as shall most distinguish themselves by their gallantry in action and other soldier-like qualities during the present insurrection. The previous December, Lincoln had approved a provision creating a U.S. Navy Medal of Valor, which was the basis of the Army Medal of Honor created by Congress in July 1862. The first soldiers to receive that would become the nation's highest military honor, were 6 members of a Union raiding party who in 1862 penetrated deep into Confederate territory to destroy bridges and railroad tracks between Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Atlanta, Georgia. In 1863, the Medal of Honor was made a permanent military decoration available to all members, including commissioned officers of the U.S. military. It is conferred upon those who have distinguished themselves in actual combat at risk of life beyond the call of duty. Since its creation during the Civil War, almost 3,400 men and 1 woman have received the Medal of Honor for heroic actions in U.S. military conflict.
You know, I've got a really good friend, Jim Doc McLuhan, who received the Medal of Honor in Vietnam. He was a medic, and his unit was in a fight that lasted way over 24 hours. He was wounded, but he refused to be evacuated because every other medic had been evacuated. He wanted to stay with the troops. What he went through just overwhelmed me. And I mean, to say that I admire Medal of Honor recipients is important. That's a good point. One does not win the Medal of Honor. You might win the lottery, but you are a Medal of Honor recipient if you have received that. And it's a bit of an insult to suggest anything else. So yeah. I am very, very glad I was never in a position to where I might be able to go for a Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah. Well, you know, Denny, the thing is, when you talk about medics, you know, the Army has medics, the Marine Corps has Navy corpsmen. They both do the same kind of job, and there's a lot of opportunity for medics and corpsmen to die in combat. I mean, I can't believe what they have to do to rescue people, the things that they have to go through. I interviewed a Navy corpsman on the Home Defense Show, and after hearing his stories of actual combat, I was flabbergasted at all the things that he had to do. You know, I was just amazed by it. And, you know, I don't know what it's like in the Army, but in the Marine Corps, we watch out for our Navy corpsmen. I mean, they're like honorary Marines, and other Navy guys can't say that, but Navy corpsmen, they're like part of the team. They're part of the group, and Marines will die protecting their Navy corpsmen, because those are the guys that are going to save their lives in combat.
Very, very well said. I read somewhere a number of years ago that the 2 jobs in the military with the highest death rate were medics and chaplains. I guess because they show up where somebody already been shot.
Yeah. You really have to believe in what you're doing to be either one of those.
You sure do.
All right, Denny, that was a pretty good cross-section of what you and I do on America's Frontlines show. So I'm hoping that people will hear that and say, you know, I want to be a part of that. So how can people be a part of America's Frontlines? How can they listen to the show?
Well, for me, the way I do it is by going to the website, americasfrontlines.com. But we're on 6 or 7 different, we're on iHeart, and I can't even remember all the other.
I think Spotify and Podbean, a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. We're out there on most of the options, but it's there. And yes, we really would appreciate your help in getting the word out, because we're there and we want to reach people and give them something that they can enjoy and learn from.
Yeah. Well, and as always, there's that catchphrase that says, like, share, follow, and subscribe. You know, if someone would have said that to me, you know, like 10 years ago, I'd look at them and go, like, share, follow, and subscribe. You are out of your mind. But now everyone knows what that means. It's just crazy. Well, all right, Denny, I want to thank you very much for all your long, hard service to our country, and especially for being my friend. And I look forward to many, many more years on America's Frontlines with you.
Hey, we're stuck with each other, Skip, and
Okay.
and our love of country and our appreciation for each other and our love of God and positive attitude on life, positive outlook. Yeah, we're stuck with each other. So we'll be at this for quite some time.
All right, sounds good. And again, that's americasfrontlines.com. This is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show. Coming up next, we'll be speaking with self-defense instructor Ryan Coe from North Carolina in the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, where we get some expert advice on the details of self-defense. But during the break, I want you to log into rumble.com and search on the Home Defense Show. I've posted a series of entertaining and educational videos there just for you. Check them out and don't forget to like, share, and follow. God bless and stay safe, because we will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
The mere sound of his voice makes women swoon and men storm the gates of hell. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Appletree Media, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now it's time for our weekly self-defense report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com. And today we're speaking with self-defense instructor Ryan Coe from the great state of North Carolina. Ryan, thanks for coming back on the Home Defense Show today.
Thanks for having me, Skip. It's always a pleasure.
All right, Ryan, now real quickly, you've been on, several times already, but give people like 30 seconds of who is Ryan Coe and what do you do?
Yeah, Skip. So I'm the owner and lead instructor of Apex Defense Group here in the great state of North Carolina. We are the largest private training company in the state. We train military, law enforcement, civilians, everything from shooting tactics, hand-to-hand, home defense, all that good stuff. And we love it down here.
Isn't it fun?
So much fun.
Well, it is. I mean, it's hard work, but it's just fun helping other people, protect themselves and their families, but also just doing something that you're real interested in and that you enjoy. A lot of people, they spend their whole lives in a job that they really hate, but they do it just to pay the bills. And you and I, we get to pay the bills and have fun.
That's why I tell people it's the best job in the world, to watch growth and grow community and then help people be better prepared.
Absolutely. All right. Well, okay, we've got a good crime here to talk about. So let me read the article and then I'll get your analysis. Okay?
All right.
This is from Fox News. It says, parents' desperate chase foils Brooklyn kidnapper's sinister plot. A would-be kidnapper who took a 6-year-old off a busy Brooklyn street on Sunday night abandoned his alleged plan when the screaming child's parents chased him, according to video footage of the incident. The 36-year-old suspect was seen grabbing the boy with one arm just before 10 p.m. in Coney Island, an iconic entertainment and residential area, according to video footage taken by Freedom News TV. He carried the screaming boy several feet before the child's parents chased the suspect, who dropped the boy as he fled. Nora Smiles, who calls herself the Sneaker Lady, and whose shop is right next to the scene, told Freedom News TV that the boy was trailing his parents moments before the incident. So a man came, and he was trying to cut him off. Then the little boy was trying to spin off of him, she said. The man just grabbed him up and started running with the little boy. Once the parents gave chase, the suspect dropped the child to the ground and ran into an intersection, the video shows. The parents just chased after the guy and they caught him, Smiles said. It was just shocking. I'm a mother myself, so we all ran over to see what happened. Smiles, who isn't from the area, said locals were familiar with the suspect. During the incident, police officers responded quickly and arrested the suspect, the New York Police Department told Fox News Digital. The boy, whose family is from Queens, complained of minor pain and was taken to Coney Island Hospital, where he was listed in a stable condition, according to New York Post. All right, that is what we know, and we had a short video clip of the actual event occurring. So what's your initial thoughts on that, Ryan?
Yeah, so when I first read the article, this thing's actually quite popular, this kind of snatch and grab and take off with a child abduction in daylight, busy tourist places is quite popular in Europe. And if you look at most trends, they'll start in Europe and then they slowly migrate here. And so it's interesting, just because around here that's so uncommon, that kind of thing is so uncommon. But if you look at most of your European cities, this kind of child abduction off the streets, off of local cafes, sidewalks is not all that uncommon. But around here, it's pretty rare anymore. And so there's things like, if you watch the video, it was a very, very crowded sidewalk, very crowded intersection. And yet that child was still chosen. If you look at things like the 1985 Texas Department of Correction studies, where they showed New York City subway footage to inmates, inmates would choose in these random video clips, they would choose the same people usually. And it was, they had a poor chance. We usually think it's what they wear, how they're dressed, are they distracted? And what ended up coming out of that study in 1985 was no, it's just, were they able to launch a counterattack or not? And that's really what made this get chosen. So probably the boy, it says was trailing the parents, and if you watch the video, it took the parents, quite a few seconds, even with their kids screaming, to realize, turn around, start to give chase. They were probably a good, you can't see it in the video, but speculation, a good 10 yards ahead of the trailing boy. And so the criminal, chose that 6-year-old and thought, okay, I could maybe get away before he quickly threw that kid down. I think if you watch that video, that kid was a little bigger and heavier than he thought when he started to take off with him.
Yeah.
But also good for the parents. man, to chase, I know so often what we see is, people yelling for help, and they almost sit there in that normalcy bias of disbelief. And good for people for jumping in. I know the article said they were curious, but yeah, I would love to think it was because they wanted to help intervene. But a lot of times, sometimes it's just curiosity that makes us run and people film. But good for the parents, and so that's one of those where I think it speaks to a greater level of preparedness. As a parent, being physically fit in order to give chase. Having the right shoes, the right clothing to be able to give chase. And then at the end of that clip, the parents, have the guy, they called him, and for lack of a better word, detained him, having those hand-to-hand skills to be able to fight back, to save lives, to prepare. And so, really good job for the parents too, to have the confidence and the footwear and the physical fitness. Those parents looked very fit in that video, to be able to launch that counterattack, because I don't think we should just count on other people or count on the police. And so often it's that, well, it won't happen to me mentality, but really good preparedness level on the parents, but just, speaking to that preparedness, having the appropriate shoes, having the appropriate fitness standards. I know when we teach like EP courses, and I have a background in executive protection, treating your kids like a client. There's no way, me getting paid on a executive protection job that I would let my client trail 10 yards behind me. That kid needs to be out front within touching distance at all times, especially in these busy crowds, where there's that touch point, that ability to maintain good positive contact, whether it's, dad in the front, mom in the back, and so you treat them. I've got nephews and nieces, no kids of my own, but nephews and nieces. And so every year, the nephews and nieces and cousins, we all go to the fair together. And it's the same way. I assign roles and responsibilities to the parents, the sister, the brother-in-law, the cousin, and so we assign roles and responsibilities, and we've got our safe words. And so I train my nephews and nieces well. If I say, let's use blue coconut, our safe words close to blue coconut, then they know they need to run up and touch my belt or touch the closest adult's belt. So if there's danger, or if one of the my sister sees someone paying attention to the nieces or nephews, and, at a big fair, big city, they're kind of scrambling everywhere. But if that blue coconut word gets, they are ingrained and trained. They run up, touch our belts, go hands on where I've got touch points, and they know to go to my left side since I'm a right-handed shooter. And so, and that's been over time, hey guys, we're going to do some drills. We're walking through the fair, and someone, one of the nephews is like, hey, I really want a lemonade. So I'll give them, 5 or 10 more yards walking, and then I'll go blue coconut. And as soon as they run up and touch the belt, hey guys, you just got $5. Here you go. Go get you a lemonade. And I run it that way with them. But we treat that just like an EP job. Loading groceries in the car. Do you put the kid in the car and then lock the doors so no other yahoo can climb in as you're putting away groceries? Do you position the grocery cart in the frame of the door? Do you turn your back, to the car or not? There's so many things, that we have to look at, treating this more seriously in our daily preparedness.
Yeah. Ryan, you have analyzed this so well. There's not a whole lot that I can add there. So good job on that. I guess when I watch the video of the parents, and I think probably it's like a football player who fumbled the ball, but then made their own recovery on it, because, there's no way I would let my kids go 10 yards behind, not a 6-year-old, in a crowded environment like that, in a huge city. I would never do that. They did it. They're from the city, so I think they're probably just used to it. But, to their credit, they did hear the screams. They ran after the bad guy. I don't know. Didn't both the husband and the wife, the mother and the father, both run after the bad guy?
Yeah, they both pursued. Yeah,
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
So who was watching the 6-year-old while they were doing that?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I actually love your analogy. They fumbled the football, but then made the recovery. That
Yeah.
is a perfect symbolism there.
Well, that's what happens a lot of times when people really aren't prepared.
Yeah.
They go ahead and they make a mistake, but then they go, "Oh, man, I screwed up. I need to fix this." And then they do their best. And in this case, it turned out okay. Let me just read you a couple of these comments. There are like 952 comments so far. Let me get your take on a few of these comments. Here's one that says, I see parents walking through stores, parking lots, etc., with their kids trailing. Not a clue if they're still there or not. My kids never walked behind. My eyes were always on them. And you spoke to that already. Here's one that says, they may not fear the law of victims. If they tried anything with me and my SIG, they would never fear again. Um, what's your thought on, let's say they pull out the gun there and shoot this kidnapper. What's the advisability on something like that?
Oh, geez. We see this a lot where the gun becomes the magic safety wand that they wave and it saves them. But you're talking about a significant foreground background issue. If you watch that video, do you hit the kid with your moving target in a crowd? Foreground background is insane. There's people everywhere. They had to push their way through people, if you watch the video, just to try to chase the attacker. How do you even take that shot in that crowd, down the sidewalk, through people, and then he's holding your child? God forbid your aim's 2 inches left or 2 inches right on a moving, running target. I think that is so often people go right to, well, I'll pull out my gun and shoot them. And I think that is that's sometimes the answer, of course.
Yeah. Sometimes, but not every time. Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. The gun was of little use in this particular situation. Some situational awareness, a little bit of that would be better than the gun at this point. Now, here's another comment here. What America needs now is Charles Bronson. America would be a much safer place if these people knew that they could get killed during one of their crimes. What do you say to that?
Yeah, see, in our state, I don't know about up there, there's a really big pushback right now with law enforcement on the judicial system. A lot of police chiefs in our big cities, Winston, Charlotte, Durham, cities in North Carolina that are top 5 biggest cities, they're pushing back against our judiciary system really hard, and they're essentially saying the same thing, just in a different way. And it's our criminals need to be held accountable. I know Charlotte Mecklenburg, they had 2 juveniles that had attempted murder on police officer charges, and the judge let them go out, release them to the parents. I know in Winston, it's been another problem where they had a group of juveniles who ambushed police officers in downtown on street patrol during an event. And then Rowan County, right down the road, had the same thing. And they're all juveniles, 14 to 16. So 3 large cities, all within a few weeks of each other. And the Rowan County was actually planned. They had planned it on Snapchat to start a fight and then fight law enforcement. And you had 2 officers hospitalized, one in a pretty serious condition. And these judges are letting them, because they're juveniles, they're letting them just ROR and releasing them to the parents. And then, one was an attempted murder on a law enforcement charge, and they were going to charge him as an adult and, set a $250,000 bond, whatever it was. And the judge came in and did a bond reduction to $6,000. And the police officer was hospitalized. Wow. And so there's a really big pushback right now from law enforcement and law enforcement leaders, police chiefs, elected sheriffs. And it's, right now, no criminal fears us because, or the public, because no criminal fears the judiciary system.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
That makes sense. Well, and it's not just there in North Carolina. I'm here in Michigan. It's the same here. But, every week I speak with, instructors from all over the country, and they're all telling me the same thing, that people are sick and tired of rampant crime, with impunity. And everyday citizens are starting to step up and say, okay, the cops aren't here. We're going to do something about this. And, I know it can, if you go too far, you have vigilantism.
Right.
But, in a case like this, just stepping in when a child's being abducted, that's not vigilantism. That's just doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I still serve on an anti-human trafficking team now. I have a background in anti-human trafficking, so that hits near and dear to my heart, where I've consulted on some human trafficking cases, even recently. And people, and some of these cases are, people do nothing and witnesses do nothing, or it's, they'll call the police 5 minutes later. And we see this even like church security teams that we train. We've seen attempted child abductions in 2 churches here recently. And it's been, an uncle tries to check a child out of VBS, but has no authority to do so, and just really, really and it's VBS workers who are saying, hold on a second, something's not right. And they're putting themselves in, one of them, the uncle tried to snatch the kid, and the VBS worker, about a middle-aged female, put herself in harm's way and fought back. And, things like that, I think that it's doing the right thing.
Yeah. I think you're right, Ryan. That was a really, really good analysis. I appreciate everything that you said. One more time, tell people before you go where they can find out about all the things that you do in your training.
Yeah, so it is, our website is www.apexdefensegroup.com, or you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook at Apex Defense Group.
All righty. Ryan, thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today.
Thanks for having me, Skip. It's always great.
All right, folks, that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and I hope you have too. Please don't forget to thank our sponsors, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, Apple Tree Media for website security, and the United States Concealed Carry Association. For all your self-defense needs, go to uscca.com. All right, folks, I've written 20-plus books, and they're all available on Amazon.com in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my book, Self-Defense Scenarios, Staying Alive in a Dangerous World. I think you'll like it. And also check out the Home Defense Show videos on rumble.com. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com. Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best.
Bye-bye, boys!
Have fun storming the castle!